Most Americans think they know Abraham Lincoln, the president, the lawyer, the leader of the Union, the symbol of liberty. But is that really the full story? Lincoln rose to power during the nation's darkest hour and encountered dilemmas few leaders ever have. In this first of two parts, we'll explore key moments of his achievements, missteps, and constitutional overreaches. The Civil War tore the nation apart, and Lincoln's background might not be as straightforward as many believe. His main objective, holding the Union together, led him to make decisions that arguably crossed ethical and legal lines. Yet before we judge him too harshly, especially for choices that history now sees as questionable, we must look at his journey as a man, a lawyer, and a statesman. Understanding why Lincoln stood against slavery also requires understanding the context of his time and the chaos of a divided nation. In striving to save the Union, did he violate the Constitution he vowed to uphold? Who exactly was Abraham Lincoln? What events led to his anti-slavery stance? Which of his actions broke constitutional limits? When did abolition become central to his message, and why? Before we dive in, please like, subscribe, and share this video to stay updated on the latest from Empire History Central. Abraham Lincoln entered the world on February 12, 1809, at Sinking Spring Farm in Hodgenville, Kentucky. His parents were Thomas and Nancy Hanks Lincoln. In 1817, due to legal disputes over land, the family relocated to Perry County, Indiana. There, they built a simple home on unsettled land, hunting and farming for survival. They eventually purchased the property. At 9 years old, Lincoln lost his mother to milk sickness, a tragedy that deeply affected him. After her death, Lincoln's father increased his workload, and young Abraham's education took a hit. In December 1819, Thomas Lincoln remarried, this time to Sarah Bush Johnston, a widowed mother of 3 from Kentucky. Abraham and Sarah developed a strong bond, and she motivated him to pursue knowledge. Lincoln eagerly read everything he could. Lincoln's total formal education added up to about 18 months. He would travel miles just to borrow or return books. Mostly self-educated, he absorbed literature, mathematics, science, and had a special passion for history and the law. In 1830, the Lincolns settled in Macon County, Illinois, and soon after moved again to Coles County. At 22, Lincoln struck out on his own, doing physical labor like chopping trees, cutting firewood, and constructing cabins, all while continuing to study. He later settled in New Salem, Illinois, where he worked various jobs: store clerk, postmaster, and eventually general store co-owner. Tall, lean, yet powerful, Lincoln earned a reputation as a skilled wrestler. Over 12 years, he only lost one official match, to Hank Thompson in 1832. His boss promoted store sales by setting up matches, and Lincoln's fame soared after he defeated local wrestling champ Jack Armstrong. His wrestling achievements eventually earned him posthumous recognition from the National Wrestling Hall of Fame in 1992. In 1832, with the outbreak of the Black Hawk War, Lincoln was elected captain by fellow volunteers. He never saw combat, but gained leadership experience. Returning home, he abandoned plans to become a blacksmith and instead partnered with 21-year-old William Berry to buy a general store on credit. Berry obtained the necessary liquor licenses for both of them, as law demanded them to legally sell spirits. In 1833, the store also operated as a tavern. Berry's struggle with alcohol left Lincoln running the failing business alone. Despite a booming local economy, the store failed, and Lincoln sold his interest. But his interest in the legal world remained strong. He studied law through key texts like Blackstone's Commentaries, the Constitution, the Federalist Papers, and writings from America's founders, particularly legal minds like Jefferson and Adams. In 1834, he won a seat in the Illinois state legislature as a Whig, supporting infrastructure development and protective tariffs. Though not an outright abolitionist then, he viewed slavery as a drag on the economy rather than a moral offense. He felt slavery was a matter for states, not federal intervention, in line with the 10th Amendment. After passing the bar in 1837, Lincoln joined the John T. Stewart law firm in Springfield. Around that time, he fell in love with Anne Rutledge, but she died young of typhoid before they were engaged. Later, he briefly courted Mary Owens but backed out, writing her a letter on August 16, 1837, suggesting she end things, which she did. With few clients in town, Lincoln took cases across Illinois, traveling the circuit. On November 4, 1842, he married Mary Todd, an intelligent and outspoken woman from a prominent Kentucky family. They had 4 sons, Robert, Edward, William, and Thomas Tad. Only Robert reached adulthood. By 1844, Lincoln was law partners with William Herndon. He gained financial success as a contract and criminal lawyer. From 1847 to 1849, he served 1 term in the U.S. House of Representatives. There, he opposed the Mexican-American War and President Polk's role in it. He also supported the Wilmot Proviso, which sought, unsuccessfully, to block slavery in new U.S. territories, positions that hurt him politically. Facing little support, Lincoln skipped re-election and resumed practicing law. As railroads expanded in the 1850s, he became legal counsel and lobbyist for the Illinois Central Railroad, while also taking clients in shipping, manufacturing, and banking. He often accepted cases based on merit, not political alignment. One key legal case was Hurd v. Rock Island Bridge Company, where Lincoln defended a bridge builder against a steamboat company. Drawing from his knowledge of river navigation laws, Lincoln had previously patented a device in 1849 that helped boats navigate shallow waters, making him the only president to ever hold a patent. While it didn't sell, it elevated his reputation. In 1854, the Kansas-Nebraska Act nullified the Missouri Compromise. Lincoln's friend and political rival, Stephen Douglas, had sponsored the legislation, which gave new territories the right to choose whether to allow slavery. This reignited Lincoln's political ambitions. The act sparked unrest, especially in Illinois and Kansas. Lincoln criticized its hidden agenda to expand slavery. "I hate it," he declared, not just for moral reasons, but because it tarnished the Republic's global image. Though not an extreme abolitionist, Lincoln wanted to halt slavery's spread. He gained backing from anti-slavery Democrats. After failing to win a Senate seat in multiple voting rounds, Lincoln asked his supporters to back Lyman Trumbull, an anti-slavery Democrat, blocking the pro-slavery frontrunner Joel Aldrich Madison. By 1856, Lincoln helped shape the new Republican Party. His stance on slavery had shifted, seeing it as a moral and legal dilemma, though still a state matter. Then came the Dred Scott ruling in 1857, which claimed African Americans had no legal rights. Although Lincoln, like many whites then, didn't see blacks as equals, he firmly believed the nation's founders intended certain unalienable rights for all, even for those in bondage. He challenged Douglas for his Senate seat. Despite their public debate battles, the 2 men were friendly in private, often dining and playing cards together. After heated debates, they would meet and discuss whose argument had more weight. During the Republican nomination speech, Lincoln moderated his anti-slavery stance. He attacked Douglas, the Supreme Court, and President Buchanan for backing slavery, and warned that a house divided cannot stand. During the 1858 Senate race, he and Douglas debated 7 times in cities throughout Illinois. They clashed on state sovereignty, westward expansion, and above all, slavery. These debates helped define the coming presidential race. Some Republicans even supported Douglas because he rejected Kansas's pro-slavery constitution. Lincoln, meanwhile, stood firm in opposition. For the first time, Illinois Republicans held a convention to pick a Senate candidate, and Lincoln was chosen with little resistance. Newspapers nationwide covered the race, but Lincoln's anti-slavery stance attracted mostly negative headlines, even from some Republicans. Douglas won the race, but Lincoln became a national figure. In 1859, he acquired the German-language paper Illinois Staatsanzeiger, a rare, consistent supporter. Though most German Americans in the state backed Democrats, the paper rallied Republican backing around Lincoln due to his anti-slavery advocacy. While still practicing law, Lincoln defended William Duff Armstrong in a murder case that became legendary. A witness claimed he saw the crime thanks to a bright full moon. Lincoln used a farmer's almanac to show that the moon wasn't visible enough that night. getting Armstrong acquitted. Another major case involved Simeon Quinpici Harrison, related to Lincoln and to his political rival, Reverend Peter Crockright. Crockright testified that the victim had admitted to provoking Harrison before dying. Classic self-defense. The judge initially barred this testimony, citing hearsay. Lincoln argued it was a dying declaration, an exception. To everyone's surprise, the judge reversed the decision, and Harrison walked free. Handling such prominent cases while running for office bolstered Lincoln's legal stature. He argued 175 appeals before the Illinois Supreme Court, winning 31 of 51 solo cases. Between 1853 and 1860, his biggest client remained Illinois Central, but his willingness to take on poor clients kept his public image favorable. Lincoln's fairness, insistence on legal detail, and willingness to defend the underdog earned him the nickname Honest Abe. His legal career helped raise his political visibility, and by 1860, Illinois Republicans organized a presidential campaign in his name. At the May 18th Republican National Convention in Chicago, Lincoln secured the nomination over prominent figures like William Seward and Salmon P. Chase. His moderate views on slavery helped. He opposed full abolition federally, but pushed for slave rights and improved infrastructure, schooling, and tariffs. Still, some critics, like New York Tribune editor Horace Greeley, saw Lincoln as hesitant on slavery and weak on Dred Scott, a perception used by his opponents. The 1860 election, chaotic and divisive, featured 4 candidates: Lincoln, Douglas, John Bell, and John C. Breckinridge. Lincoln won under 40% of the popular vote, but dominated the Electoral College with 180 out of 303 votes. He also began growing his trademark beard. America was at a turning point, and Lincoln would soon guide a fractured nation through unprecedented challenges. In Part 2, we'll follow how Lincoln, once a champion of legality and fairness, began making decisions, whether out of necessity or ambition, that tested constitutional boundaries and raised questions about his legacy. Thanks for watching Empire History Central. Be sure to like, subscribe, and share.